Dear Swamijis and dear friends, yes, we have had a nice discussion from Swami. We are all spiritual practitioners and we face a lot of difficulties in our spiritual life. What way should we make ourselves positive that we get some benefit out of it? It is a regular complaint from all spiritual practitioners that we have been trying very hard, but we are not getting the promised result. Swami Vivekananda has said that Yoga Sutra is a philosophy of a science of religion. Because if you practice something, when we are practicing yoga, then we get the benefit. Those who practice at least Hatha Yoga, they can vouch for the efficacy of Hatha Yoga. When we are trying to bend our body, initially it is very stiff, but afterwards it becomes very, very supple, and then we can bend the body. So when we are doing some spiritual practices, we don't see that things are going on well. Once a lady asked Holy Mother, "Mother, I have been practicing spiritual disciplines for a long time, but all the problems in my mind like anger, desire, hatred, greed, delusion, it seems they are growing, they are not becoming less, they are growing." Well, Mother gave a very, very inspiring answer. That is positive. Mother said, "Well, suppose you have rolled up a few colors of thread, blue, black, green, white, red, like that, different colors of thread into one reel. When you unroll them, they will appear in the same color. If we are in a hurry, then we do not understand the benefit that spiritual practices are making inside." Holy Mother also has given an example. Suppose you are sleeping in a bed and people carry you from one room to another room. You don't know that you are transported. Sri Ramakrishna gives a beautiful example. He says that there are some people who have heard of milk, some have seen milk, and some have drunk milk. See, people, those who have heard of milk, like big researchers, you see, they say that research means what? If we steal from one book, it is called plagiarism. And if we steal from many books, it is called research. So, yeah, it is like that. So we can hear of milk, we read books on milk, and then we can write thesis on that and get PhDs and whatnot. But then some people have seen milk, their knowledge is more. Not only information, they have seen. But some people have drunk milk. So, what does this person know? What more does this person know? He knows the taste of milk also. But one thing happens imperceptibly. Without the knowledge of the person who has drunk milk, nourishment. You can see that. It nourishes us. Spirituality is like that. After a long span of time, we look back and just wonder at our growth, development. That is true. And well, If that does not happen, then we must be sure that there is something seriously wrong about our own practices. This is true. Otherwise, if we do spiritual practices, it should bring about the desired result. There are three types of practitioners. Some people who are engrossed in material life, they are materialists, they are practicing material philosophy. Some, those are completely devoted to spiritual life, they are spiritual seekers, they have no problem. As the materialists do not have problem, similarly the pure spiritualist or religious people do not have any problem. But then there are some people who cannot go totally with the material life, neither can they go totally with the spiritual life. They can be termed as religious materialists. Most of us are like that. We are neither here nor there, we are in between, caught up in between. We cannot completely dedicate ourselves to material life. This is not acceptable to us. And we cannot completely dedicate ourselves to spiritual life due to some problem, due to our inadequacy, due to our inability, some things. We are caught up in between. And the scriptures say that if you are like that, then you are blessed. Why? Because then you are fighting. And it is spiritual life only. Spiritual life is nothing but fight. Fight between these two forces. We want to pull ourselves out of this material force and attach ourselves to spiritual. This is the fight. Spiritual life is just this fight, nothing more than that. Now, to keep the spirit alive in spiritual life, in this struggle, what do we need? A big positive attitude towards this life is needed. What is that positive attitude? The scriptures have described samshaya or doubts in various manners. There could be many doubts. Suppose I have come here new and I have some toothache. So I am in search of a dentist. I am asking people about the address of a dentist. Now someone says you take this road and go this way. Someone says you take this road, go this way. Someone says this way. I may have doubt about which road actually is shorter. But if I have doubt about the road itself, then there is problem. I won't start. You see, in business they say that before starting anything we should weigh the weaknesses and threats. They are the drawbacks. They drag us. And therefore we should take care of them, but we should move with the strength and opportunities. This is positive. In spiritual life, we may have doubt about whether this road is shorter. But if we doubt the existence of the road itself, then we don't proceed. Another doubt is there. If we doubt the existence of the doctor, then we don't go. I don't
There's
go.
no hope.
There is a joke. One person used to be a believer in God. So one day he was being chased by some wild animal on the hills, so he was running away. But suddenly he saw himself at the edge of the hill and he just fell down. Fell over there, but by chance he caught hold of a tree there and started hanging. And from there he shouted, "Oh Lord, I have been praying to you for such a long time, please come and help me." Then deep from under the gorge below, a voice spoke, says, "My child, let go thy hold, and I will hold you." And this man said, "What? This is the only thing which I am holding on to. And if I let my hold go, then what will happen?" Then he shouted, "Is there anybody else to help?" So, now look at this. This is a fact very much known to us. I will end with a beautiful story which I read as a young child, and it gave so much inspiration. So I want to share that story with you. It is really, really beautiful. That once a merchant navy was sailing from England to America. And they have a duty for people for 4 hours, to those who are there on board, 4 hours duty, and every time after the duty hour was over, they would take the roll call. So after one such duty hour, when they were taking roll call, then they found that a sailor boy was missing. So they tried to find him in the ship itself, they could not find. Then tried to look for him here and there, no trace of that young boy. Then after a long time, they decided to inform this matter to the captain. And captain heard everything, then talked with his second officer and said, "Suppose, let us have some more information about this boy. So who has seen him for the last time and at what time?" Then they found that he was seen immediately after this period began, shift began, and after that nobody has seen him. Now suppose he fell down into the sea 4 hours ago. Now it is already 1 more hour gone, 5 hours. So suppose we calculate that and we go back to trace this boy. How long will it take? Then the second officer said, "It may take us at least 4 hours if we go on high speed." Said, "Let us go back." Others thought this fellow is crazy, because in this cold Atlantic and about 7-8 hours, it is impossible for a small boy to survive like that. But the captain said, "No, we have to go back." Then they went back, and boats were lowered, and they searched for the boy. And fortunately, he was found. He was found still floating, and maybe to his teeth's end. Then he was brought to the deck, and medical attention was given. Captain was sitting near him all the time. And when the boy got back consciousness, then this captain could not contain his enthusiasm. Then he bent down on the face of that boy and asked, whispered in his ears, "I have a question." Then he looked up and said, "Yes, do you recognize me?" Then he smiled and said, "Yes, you are my captain." Then he became very curious. Then he asked, "Now answer the last question. How could you keep yourself afloat for such a long time? What was the force that kept you going?" Then this young boy looked at him and said, "That is you, Captain." Why? He said, "I know that my captain will not leave me." Therefore, I tried my best to justify or to do justice to your faith. That was all. Thank you.